Hi, everyone. My name is Suraj Dixit. I'm the co-founder of Aspire Research, and I'm here today to kind of talk a little bit about our flagship program, Aspire Fellowship. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. So what we're going to cover today really briefly, first of all, a program overview, what Aspire Fellowship actually is and how it differs from your traditional research programs. 2, your role and responsibilities as a student within the program and the dynamic between you and your mentor. Number 3, the week-by-week timeline of how the actual 12-week program is going to unfold. And 4th, success strategies, not only how to succeed within the program, but also how to succeed on the application and maximize your chances of getting in. So let's dive in. So what is the Aspire Fellowship? So the Aspire Fellowship is essentially a selective 12-week research program where you're going to work one-on-one with a PhD mentor that is in a field that you're interested in, that's matched to you, to create an original research project over the course of 12 weeks. So who we're looking for? We're looking for students who are obsessed with something. We're looking for students who have a spark of curiosity, someone who is serious about pursuing research and getting to the next level, whether it's ISEF or JSHS, or even publishing their research. Ideally, we're looking for students in grades 8 through 11, although there is a little bit of wiggle room on each side. And I do want to stress that this isn't a class. This isn't a big cohort-based thing. This is individual research mentorship. Okay, you're going to work like a researcher, think like a researcher, and produce work at a researcher's standard. And we're very heavily emphasizing the fact that you are going to be doing everything yourself. If you are looking for someone to do the research for you, this is not the program for you. I highly advise you look for other research programs. We really focus on the student here. We make sure that the student does all the work, and the mentor is only there in a guiding role. So kind of just overview what you're actually going to get deliverable-wise. First of all, like I mentioned, one-on-one PhD mentorship. We have a vast array of PhDs from various universities, including pretty much every single Ivy, as well as a bunch of Fortune 500 companies as well, for that real industry-specific experience. And another thing that you're going to get is structured milestones. So one thing we'll talk about when we get to the program structure is gates, which is basically a system where we quality check your research as you move along. We have a gate at the beginning and a gate at the end. And a gate in the middle, just to make sure that your research is feasible, everything is going smoothly, and your end deliverables are actually up to our standard. After that, you're gonna have the option to choose between a complete research paper or science fair materials. For this upcoming cohort, which is the spring cohort, most science fairs have already passed by the point you're going to be in the program. So I think most people are going to be able to choose a research paper that they can publish over the summer. But you do have that option if you choose to go the more science fair route. After that, real accountability, like I mentioned. And the last really, really good thing about this program is the permanent connections that you can forge with your mentor, okay? We don't guarantee that you're going to have a lifelong connection with your PhD mentor. It's completely up to you how you want to build that relationship, but we really strongly encourage that you do. All right, moving on. What makes Aspire different from other programs? So I'm sure you guys have heard of all the different research programs out there. And why is Aspire so different, right? Well, I'll say the first thing is that I really want to stress that actually isn't on this page is the dual layer mentorship, okay? What we see in a lot of these other programs is that they lack relevancy. A lot of them have good mentors, right, and a good program and a good structure, but they're not rooted in reality, right? A lot of these students, they have goals of publishing their research, right? It's not always feasible to publish in a prestigious journal, right? Maybe they have to publish in a high school journal, right? You need students who've been through that process to guide them to do that. The other really big example is science fair, right? PhDs probably went to their science fairs multiple years ago, many, many years ago, right? Our science fair champion network is comprised of students who have won science fairs like ISEF and gotten first, second, and third place at those international science fairs just in the last 1 or 2 years, right? So adding that extra layer of relevancy around that core PhD mentorship is really what makes Aspire stand out and give you the best possible research structure. Apart from that, we have real research standards. We have really elite connections from amazing universities and amazing institutions that you can network with. And finally, we have really concrete, complete deliverables. Another thing that I'll mention is talking to mentors who have, mentored at other research programs. A big thing that they always say is the students aren't actually able to complete their projects. Our biggest priority is that you as a student actually finish your project end to end, right? We want you to reach completion. That is what success looks like to us. Okay, moving on. What are the key details of this program? So starting off with the duration, it's going to be around 12 weeks long. As you might have noticed, if you look at some other programs, they are usually around 10 weeks long. We do include these extra 2 weeks just to make sure everything is more thorough. I think research is a very unpredictable process. You might realize something at the very end of your research that you think is really critical to the outcome of your research that you might want to go and do. So we've kind of incorporated this buffer that allows you to more thoroughly complete your research and also give you some buffer in case you have a final, in case you get sick, or something happens. You have something built in to prevent you against failure, essentially. When it comes to the investment, it is $2,000 up front. We are one of the more cost-effective programs. That being said, though, if you do need financial aid, we do offer some financial aid to students who show out on their application and show that they are really ambitious and have a lot of promise. Options for payment are going to be completely upfront or in installments over a few-month period. When it comes to timing, this is going to be our spring cohort, so it's going to last 12 weeks from the week of February 9th. This is a typo, February 9th, to the week of April 26th. Finally, when it comes to deliverables, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to have the option between a research paper and also the science fair materials as well. Okay, moving on to the goal, we have really clear expectations like I mentioned earlier. We want a complete research paper that's composed of the standard IMRAD format, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. But we also want to make sure that we're tailoring the research paper to your specific project, not trying to make it fit some standard template. We want to make sure that it's presenting your research in the best possible way. Finally, we want to make sure your results are actually defensible, right? Like, can your data actually back up what you're doing? And also, we want polished presentation materials that you could use for science fair if you decide to go down that route. And also, our Science Fair Champion Network will also come in and help you with that strategic fair alignment to make sure you're on the right path. Okay, now that you're actually, or when you actually get into the program itself, let's kind of define some of the roles and responsibilities that you're going to be facing, right? So from our side of things, I guess I'll explain that first. We are your support infrastructure, okay? The Aspire team is here to make sure your mentorship goes smoothly and also to quality control and make sure that your research is the best it can possibly be, okay? So we take care of things like matching you with the right PhD mentor based on your application, setting milestones and enforcing deadlines, reviewing progress at those key checkpoints that I mentioned, those gate checks, intervening if your mentor is not responding or if there's any kind of conflict or altercation, and finally just providing good quality control to make sure that you're on the right path. Moving into your PhD mentor, they're going to be your research guide, okay? They are not going to be doing research for you. Like, again, I'm going to stress this again. You want to make sure that you are doing all of the work, okay? Your mentor is not there to do work. As a matter of fact, they're not allowed to do any of the work that you're supposed to be doing, okay? So we're definitely going to make sure that you are doing everything yourself. But in general, your PhD mentor is there to guide your overall project direction, okay? They have years of experience doing what you're trying to do. Use them as a resource to further your own capabilities instead of trying to steal something from them and make it your own, okay? They're going to provide feedback on everything from your topic to your methodology, help you critically think about results, and kind of share some domain expertise they may have if they've worked at a company that is related to the research that you're doing. Moving on to you, the student. Like I mentioned again, this is your project, your name is on it. That means you do the work, every single last bit of it. But again, as you as a student, you're going to be developing and owning the research idea end to end with validation from us as well as your PhD mentor. You're going to be executing everything from data collection to analysis. You're going to write every single word of the paper yourself. We are going to be pretty strict with AI because, as we've learned from some of our mentors, Writing the actual paper is where you learn a lot of stuff, how to actually present the research and all the critical thinking that goes into that. And finally, if you choose to go down the science fair route, you're going to actually have to prepare and deliver the presentation yourself and also meet those deadlines consistently. Another thing that I want to mention, that's the last bullet point here, is communication, okay? A lot of your success is going to be dependent on communication. That's what I tell all my students now as well. The more questions you ask to us, the more success you get out of the program. It's that simple. Okay, so how does this mentorship thing actually work, right? So what it actually looks like in practice is going to be every single week, you're going to have a meeting with your mentor that lasts about 45 to 60 minutes. So there is a caveat here. If you don't have 45 to 60 minutes one time a week to meet with your mentor, or your mentor doesn't, you guys can negotiate and have up to 1 to 2 sessions that you can split your time into and talk then. So this is just, to keep things structured, to keep things smooth, is kind of why we have this requirement. But each week you should aim to meet with your mentor for around 45 to 60 minutes. Meetings are going to take place over Google Meet, and everything's going to be recorded and AI summarized. This really, really helps if you want to go back and read something that your mentor said that you might have forgotten, or just read back. Maybe you said something that you forgot that you want to refer to back again. And again, just kind of going off the whole student involvement thing, you're going to be leading these meetings. Okay, I'll kind of walk through the structure of that in a second, but you are going to be leading the meeting with your mentor. You're going to be guiding the conversation. And I think that's really important for you to make sure that you are owning your research. Okay, cool. I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so what actually happens in the weekly meeting? So we're going to start off with like a progress report where you are going to explain what you accomplished that week or in the past like X number of days since the last meeting. Then you guys are going to review the actual work where you and your mentor sit down together and see what you did, what you can improve, etc. After that, towards the end of the meeting, after you guys have kind of discussed everything, we're going to lock in the tasks for the next week or the next meeting and kind of set some concrete goals and put that into a verbal action plan that you can actually execute upon before the next meeting. Between meetings, something that we offer is asynchronous support, which is really awesome. So if you have questions for a science fair champion who might have some really specific competition-specific advice, you can ask them. But our mentors are also going to be on Discord for you to talk to them asynchronously if you have questions. We're going to talk about this more if you get into the program, but we do stress that our mentors' time is very valuable. So make sure when you ask questions, you're asking them in a very prepared way. You're treating them with respect, and you're respecting their time. Okay, moving on to the actual 12-week timeline. What does this actually look like? As soon as you get that acceptance email, we're going to start the onboarding process. We're going to make sure, first of all, we're going to finalize that you're actually in the program. After everything's been processed, we're going to finalize that match with your mentor. And then moving into the actual research process, the first 2 weeks are always going to be about reading a lot and talking to your mentor about developing a project idea and making sure that it's feasible. Okay. Before we move on to actually doing the project, there's going to be a gate check where we see okay, is this project feasible? Is this something that can make it to ISEF? Is this something that could potentially be published, right? We want to make sure that there's enough scope for your project to move forward. After that, weeks 3 to 4 are going to be all about data preparation. This is kind of specific to computer science and AI/ML projects, but whatever equivalent of that there is, you'll be doing during this week. Weeks 5 through 8 are going to be all your experimentation and analysis. Week 9 is just kind of an extra week where if you need to catch up on anything, like I mentioned earlier, you can do that. If you have a final, you can use that week to prepare for your finals. And you can also kind of move this week around. It doesn't have to be here, but it's just kind of there as a buffer to help you. And lastly, weeks 10 to 12 are going to be all about the writing or presentation, whichever one you opt to do. Okay, quality control. You might be sitting here and being like, wow, why is this program so strict? So we want to make sure that you get the best research possible and protect your outcome, right? And the way we do this, like I mentioned earlier, is through these gate checks. So the first gate, like I mentioned, is going to happen after the first 2 weeks. We're going to make sure your project is feasible enough to move on to the actual execution stage. After that, you do all your research, right? You collect your data, you do your analysis, whatever. Then we have another gate check to check out your results, right? Make sure your results are complete. You don't need to do anything else. If you do need to do something else, we might, tell you to do it during your buffer week, or just try to catch up on it in your spare time, etc. Right? The final gate's just going to be quality control at the end, making sure that you actually did the work to write your paper, it meets the academic standards, etc. Okay, final slide. This is just more of the same stuff. We really want to make sure, again, that all of our students actually complete all of their research. Completion is going to be a really big KPI for us to make sure that our students are actually taking stuff to completion. Our acceptance rate is pretty low. It's around 10%. What this means is we are looking for students who are actually serious about this stuff. We've put a lot of work into this program. We've put a lot of time into sourcing mentors, making sure that they have the proper experience and what it takes to mentor you and be a good teacher. So, on your application, make sure that you put in effort and try to stand out, because chances are, the more effort you put in, the higher chances are of getting in. And finally, it's just going to be 12 weeks to completion. A lot of students might use this as a launch pad to continue their research over the summer or during another time. If that's you, that's totally fine. It's completely up to you what you do with the research after. Just remember, you own the research entirely. So that's pretty much it. If you guys want to apply, the link is on our website. You can find it. It's pretty much the first link. It's at aspireresearch.net. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us at team@aspireresearch.net or send us a DM in our Discord server. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a good day. Thank you.